Hey guys, I wanted to do this video and I've been wanting to do it for probably a few weeks now, but circumstances conspire. I fear this is going to be a little bit longer one. This is really the culmination of my series on EDC and support systems, like what goes with me when I'm going places or even when I'm in the office. Those are the kind of some of the basics we're going to talk about. But this is my kind of third level. It's what I go to when things are more entertaining than just normally day to day. So I'm going to just really jump into it. I might jump around a little bit. I apologize for that. But I am going to try and keep it as succinct as I can. So first, let me talk about water. You should have water with you. I think you should probably have water in more than just your go bag. It is heavy, and I think everybody knows that. I think something like 8.4 pounds a gallon. But in my go bag, I usually carry two of these old school Nalgene bottles full of water, 32 ounces each. And I carry two, not really because I think I'm personally going to go through that much, although it's certainly possible. But one bottle is for me, and the other bottle is usually for a friend or colleague who showed up with zero water, and I don't want them to dehydrate or die. So I bring some water. In addition, if things get really, really bad, a water filtration device, like an emergency life straw or similar filtration device. Guys, this takes up almost no space, weighs almost nothing. And it's certainly useful if you get that far down into the hole and you need to get some water. So useful in that regard. In addition, I also usually carry around some water purification tablets. So that's probably a level of paranoia when it comes to water that most people don't engage in, but I do. And I've had to go to the water bottles. I haven't had to go any further down that rabbit hole, but if I do, the ability's there, the preparedness is there. Two, first aid. Trauma level stuff is directly at hand. It's either on my belt when I'm at work or it is sitting in the center console of my car. So first aid in my go bag is really kind of for the next level stuff. What kind of is not super life-threatening, but is important. And I usually carry a couple of things. One of the adventure medical kits, like the Weekender one. It's got a lot of various things in, like Band-Aids, a couple of meds, gloves, another roll of duct tape, various things that can help you if you need some first aid equipment. And I supplemented it with, and I mentioned this in a previous video, one of the ITS Tactical first aid kits. So a lot of different things. You know, this one has like CPR face shield, surgical tape, burn gel, some things like that. So useful. You know, if I never need it, that's okay. I'd rather have it and not need it. Along the lines when it comes to first aid, I usually have like a curated bag of some other items like Advil, Benadryl, Imodium, wet wipes to do all the things that wet wipes do, some hand sanitizer, things like that. Just, you know, whatever you need that fits into that category, I try and put in a Ziploc bag or similar so that it'll stay relatively protected. Right now, as I'm filming this, it is March, headed into spring, which means my consideration in my bag, like what I carry in that bag, really starts to change based on what I expect the weather conditions to be. For instance, in the winter, I'm really worried about warmth, but now I'm kind of getting away from the winter months, and I'm going to have to worry more about exposure and getting rained on. So from that perspective, I'm going to carry sunscreen. And I usually like to have some for my face, some for the rest of me. I don't want to cook if I get stuck out in the sun, especially if I'm wearing short sleeves, which is more common for me in the summer months. So I'm going to have some sunscreen. In addition, I'm probably going to have like a boonie hat or something. Keeps the sun off of my face and neck. And I know this isn't sexy. It's a nice innocuous color. You could say it's a fishing hat. You know, I don't want anybody to think that I'm some military looking person. I'd rather just blend in and be like the old goofy guy in the boonie hat. Speaking of being outdoors, bug spray. I usually cart around the stuff that's specifically for ticks and the thing that's for everything else. I spray them both on myself liberally when I am outdoors and out where it's say not an urban environment. Since I coat myself so liberally, I'm probably going to die of something weird in the next 10 years, but at least I didn't get eaten up by bugs. So that's really kind of the deal when it comes to outdoors. Now, in terms of staying dry, I always have a poncho. This is like a cheap poncho, but I'm not looking to wear it day in, day out. This is, you know, for emergency use. And a pair of rain pants, lightweight. So between those two, I can usually stay relatively dry. Being wet sucks. When you're wet and miserable, you are quite miserable. I usually carry like at least one additional layer, like this Under Armour shirt, something I can wear underneath if I do get soaked all the way down to the skin. And speaking of wet, if your feet get waterlogged and you don't take care of that, if you go having to walk any considerable distance on those waterlogged feet, they'll start to blister. Those blisters, when unchecked, burst, then they get infected, and then at some point your walking days are over and you are your own medical casualty. I always carry a couple pairs of socks with me just in case, guys. You can't get anywhere without your feet. You just can't. So take care of that. As I look across my spread of things, I did forget to mention EpiPens. If you have any life-threatening allergies and you do not have an EpiPen, shame. I understand that pricing being what it is, that these may be more expensive, more difficult to get, but the life you save could be your own. And I kind of veered off of first aid, but I do want to mention that I usually carry Crazy Glue and Dermabond and a finger cut kit, just in case you do get cuts on your fingers, because it's pretty common. But if you have a decent pair of gloves with you, you can hopefully keep that to a minimum. Oh, also, and I mentioned duct tape before as part of that first aid kit, but you can get like a little teeny roll of it. Like this is Gorilla Tape to go. Hundreds of uses. So I cannot overstate enough like how important duct tape is. You may wish to carry paracord with you. Like here's, I don't even know, 100 feet of it. And this takes up very little space, almost no weight. Hundreds of uses there. I do want to mention, and this should seem obvious as well, toilet paper. And you may want some additional something to wipe. That is super important. Even if you're not like end of world, like hiking through the wilderness, if you end up having to use a porta potty, those things can come in handy like you would not believe. So I recommend. I like to have something I can take notes with. I got this pad from F3 Tactical. I like those guys a lot. Excellent tactical store. This is a Write in the Rain notebook, so if you need to take notes, the pages won't disintegrate. If you do manage to get wet, you should probably have with you, and I like to have pens and a Sharpie just in case I have to write either on paper or not on paper. These things are super handy. I think I'm getting towards the end, but I do want to talk about fire sources. I usually carry around matches and a torch. Guys, the torch, I think, yep, there we go. Very useful. Yeah, you could make a feather stick and a fire steel and strike sparks and make a fire. You can do that. And that's cool. But if I'm having a really bad day, I don't want to have to spend that time and effort trying to build a fire if I'm down to building a fire. So things like this, super, super handy. I'm assuming most of you guys carry a knife with you of some type, but I usually throw just some cheapy backup in my backpack as well. This is an old Benchmade. The lock blade style is actually a lock back. I mean, that's how old this thing is. And the steel is ATS 34. So for those of you who are knife steel nerds or knife nerds, you know what vintage this knife is. That is for sure. It's old. It's probably not worth that much except as a historical curio, but it's still a knife. It's still usable. So I throw it in my backpack just in case. You may wish to also supplement that with a multi-tool. This is an old Gerber multi-tool, guys, and I know Gerber is not super exciting, but we got, pliers. It's useful for various things. And look, the military's been running Gerber stuff for I don't even know how long now, and it seems to work for them. So yeah, you could do more. You could spend more, like get a Leatherman, something like that. But this thing's worked for me for, I'm almost ashamed to say how long, but let's just say it's a long, long time that this thing has been in service with me, and it continues to work. So I just continue to hang on to it. I think that's about everything that I want to talk about. I'll do a quick pan over this table once I am done with this video, just so you can kind of see everything that's laid out before you. I do like to carry with me some safety glasses. Guys, these are like cheap $5 ones you get at Home Depot. Heck, you can buy a whole box of them and they're useful for everything, but not a bad idea to have in your bag. I didn't really go into winter stuff, but I still have like 1 or 2 winter things. These are super useful, always hand warmers, and obviously a warmer hat for when it's cooler outside. Lastly, I do want to talk about the bag you carry this stuff in. If you take a super nice curated set of items, you're like, hey, this is all the stuff that's going to keep me alive and safe and well and provide for me and my family if something kind of goes a little wonky, and you put it in a really crappy bag, like let's say a JanSport bag that you bought from Walmart for $25. And for whatever reason, you have to dismount your vehicle and you have to take a hike with your bag of stuff. And at some point, the seams have frayed, things start falling out of that bag. You are going to regret that action item. It's going to suck. So you need to buy a decent bag. It doesn't have to be a super high expensive bag, but I'll tell you, I think probably the lowest I would go would be something made by 511. They make some okay bags. Maxpedition makes good bags. Hazard 4 makes good bags. I like the workmanship on those that I've seen. I actually own some Maxpedition stuff. I own some Hazard 4 stuff. But I'll tell you that all of my go bag level items are carried around for me in a tactical tailor backpack. Guys, I think I've had this thing probably, I think we're closing up on 19 years that I have owned this backpack. It's not going to win any awards for being, new and current, but it's not frayed. It's not beat up. It looks pretty darn new, and it has rattled around the back of, I can't tell you how many vehicles now containing all of these things. Dragged into the workplace, back out, back to the vehicle. Like, it's done a lot. I haven't dragged it a ton through the woods, but it has seriously not been treated gently. Now, I will tell you, when I bought this thing, at the time of its purchase, many, many, many years ago, this thing was probably about $250, which means to buy an equivalent bag now, something made in the United States, would be more. I haven't checked the price. I may go back and take a look and subtitle this with, what the current bag of the same equivalency costs now. But understand that at this point, I think, honestly, guys, I could probably will this thing to a relative after I die. It is just held up so well that I can't complain about it at all. So from that perspective, especially when it comes to certain items, there's places to worry about budget and skimp, and there's places where I think spending a little more money makes sense. I hate that I have to say this, but what you put in your bag may have to vary based on things like local, state, and federal law. You might want to carry some extra of this. This might run afoul of that. So guys, please make sure that everything that you've got with you is not going to get you in trouble. I would hate for you to have to get in trouble when all you were trying to do is provide for you and your family and keep you and your family safe. If I were going to carry some additional ammunition, I wouldn't carry a lot, by the way, unless you really expect some craziness, because ammunition, as you're doubtless aware, is super heavy. Like lead's just heavy, guys. And ammunition not in a magazine is certainly not immediately useful. So if I were going to throw something in that bag, it would be of an ammunition type that works for me and in a feeding device that also works properly. I don't know that I'd buy some cheap Chinese junk there, and I certainly wouldn't put Uncle Jim Bob's reloads in them. I think I would probably put some quality ammunition in them. Guys, that's about it. Like I said, I'll probably put some links and a list of things that may interest you. I don't expect that you're like, I'm going to copy what Jay does one for one. Like, that's going to be my exact list. This is more food for thought for you. Like, how am I going to take care of, me, my family, if things get a little crazy? And that's really what this kind of setup is for. I rarely have to break into this backpack. But when I do, these things are there for me and they take care of me For the most part, I find myself the bug spray and the sunscreen being the biggest ones during the summer. Occasionally the toilet paper, but any of the first aid stuff, it's broadly useful. Guys, I hope my whole series on EDC support systems and Go Bag has been useful to you. If I missed anything, hit me in the comments, let me know. But I think this is a pretty good start, food for thought. And as always, guys, if you would, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share with your friends. I'm trying to make content that I think would be useful for people. I think I might veer off into some other topics, but obviously you guys know where my wheelhouses are and where they lie. Guys, take care, stay safe. I'll talk to you again soon.